Why do so few people who study personal development manifest wealth and success, while most people struggle no matter how hard they try? I picked up my first personal development book all the way back in 2012. At the time, I was a carpenter. I always tell people I was working 65 to 70 hours a week. I was run down, I was stressed, I was fed up and just about ready to give up. And my personal development journey, I've been on the journey now for the best part of 13 years. My personal development journey has taken on three very distinct phases. So phase number one went for the best part of 2 to 2.5 years, where I read hundreds of books. I attended seminars, webinars, 1, 2, 3 day events. I attended events and I screamed how much I believed in myself and how great I was. And I created literally no results. And, I could make a good argument that in that 2.5 years, I actually went backwards because my knowledge in the material was growing, yet my results were staying still. So my confidence was constantly going backwards and my frustration was growing to a really big degree. The truth is, most people whom I speak to are in this phase of their journey. They believe in the principles. They believe in the material. They've read Think and Grow Rich, You Were Born Rich, The Power of Now, The Power of Awareness, whatever it may be. And they haven't quite been able to apply the principles in their life to create real tangible change. And this video is going to show you how to transition out of that phase into actually applying these principles to creating real results. It's going to very clearly answer the question, why do some people study this material for decades with no results, and other people study this material for a shorter period of time and create real tangible results? Phase 2 of my journey was actually when I first started getting mentored by Bob. It was February 28th of 2015. I literally still remember where I was standing when I enrolled into his year-long coaching. I was in my mum's backyard. I was absolutely petrified. I'd never invested that much money in myself. And in that year of coaching, I created results. I was able to start a side business. I joined a network marketing company called World Ventures. I started a travel blog called Follow Your Bliss, and I was able to safely replace my income and transition into becoming a full-time entrepreneur. And I traveled the world for the next 7 or 8 months, backpacking through Europe, North America, and Southeast Asia. And it was my goal to earn money while I traveled, and I accomplished that goal. However, this part of my journey, even though I'd created tangible results, I was still very much letting the results control me. When I didn't have the results, I was operating out of fear of hoping to create the results. And then when I did have the results, the tangible results, I was operating out of fear of, is it gonna last? I was riding the highs of the highs and the lows of the losses. When things were good, I was up, and when things were bad, I was down. And the truth is, I was doing a lot wrong in this phase of my journey, but I was doing enough right to actually apply the principles and create results. And then probably about 5 years ago, I stepped into the phase 3 of my journey. And phase 3 of my journey is really understanding what personal development is. And understanding them when I set a goal, whether it be an income goal or a health and fitness goal or a relationship goal, the manifestation of that goal is not actually for what I get, it's for the person that I become in the process. And my job as a creator is to enjoy the journey, is to have fun, is to focus on getting 1% better every single day, learn from my mistakes, enjoy being uncomfortable, be present, and actually enjoy the journey. And I tell you about these 3 phases, not because I want you to go through each of the 3 phases. I want you to follow my content, and I want you to plant your flag in phase 3. And if this is your first time watching me, my name's Justin, and I'm a mindset coach. I've been in the coaching space now for the best part of 8.5 years, and I was actually business partners with Bob Proctor for 6 of these 8.5 years. And the whole purpose of this channel is actually showing people who have been studying personal development for quite some time, but haven't actually been able to apply it into their life, how to apply the principles of success to create real life tangible change. So if that's something that interests you, please feel free to give this video a like and give my page a follow. So let's get into the good stuff. Let me explain to you how I went from a carpenter working 65 to 70 hours a week, studying these principles for the best part of 2.5 to 3 years. I was a walking, talking encyclopedia of this knowledge. However, I was creating no real tangible change. And to do that, I'm going to explain to you this very simple graphic, which I like to call the stick person. Now, if you've been following my material at all, this is most definitely not the first time in the first video that I'm explaining the stick person. However, it's the repetition of the ideas that are really going to help us create a quantum leap. And this stick person was actually created by a gentleman named Dr. Thurman Fleet. And he was a chiropractor in San Antonio, Texas. And a little bit of context on how the graphic was actually created. He would have people come to him with a sore neck or a sore shoulder or a sore elbow, and he was a great chiropractor. He had a great reputation in his local area, and I believe all around the United States. And he would treat these people physically, and in a very short period of time, they would come back, whether it be 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, with the exact same injury. And he began to understand that he was treating symptoms, okay? The sore neck, the sore shoulder, the sore elbow was a symptom. And the primary cause of his client's results was their subconscious programming. Now, for the sake of this graphic, I've broken the mind up into 2 parts. In the top half of the semicircle, we have our conscious mind. Now, your conscious mind is your thinking mind, it's your intellectual mind. Right now, this information is going from my conscious mind to your conscious mind. Let me lean over here for a second, keep playing. When we read the books, okay, I spent 2.5 years reading the books, attending webinars, attending seminars, 1, 2, 3-day events. I was creating no results. I was listening to the gurus and the coaches on stage talking, and I believed every single word that they were saying. I knew that it was true. However, when I was listening to the information, I was simply feeding my conscious mind. Now, my conscious mind, I'm going to write and talk here, so bear with me. My conscious mind controls 2 to 4% of my results, perceptions, and behaviors. Now, in the bottom half of the semicircle, we have our subconscious mind, which is our emotional mind, and our universal mind. Your subconscious mind, once again, I'm writing and talking, so please bear with me. Your subconscious mind controls 96 to 98% of your results, perceptions, and behaviors. So I want to give you a little bit of an example, okay? And I've been doing this exercise with my clients. This book right here is The Power of Awareness, and it's actually my favorite book of all time. And my favorite passage in this book is chapter 5, and the name of the chapter, the name of the passage is The Truth That Sets Me Free. I just think about that. What a powerful name of the chapter, right? The truth that sets me free. We're all looking for the truth that sets me free. In this chapter, he says, the drama of life is a psychological one in which all the conditions, circumstance, and events of my life are brought to pass by my assumptions. So as what he's saying here is every result in my life, my health, my fitness, my relationships, my income, my business, my ability to earn money, everything is brought to pass by my assumptions, by my belief system, by my subconscious programming. He goes on to say, since my life is determined by my assumptions, I'm forced to recognize the fact that I'm either a slave to my assumptions or their master, okay? So it effectively is what he's saying here is my belief system, my habits, my paradigms that are stored in my subconscious mind, they're working for me or they're working against me. To become the master of my assumptions is the key to undreamed freedom and happiness. I can attain this mastery by deliberate, conscious control of my mind. So, you know, my great late mentor, Bob Proctor, used to say to me, Justin, thought is the preamble to everything that we'll ever create in our life. And as what he's saying here is, I can attain this mastery by taking deliberate conscious control of my mind. If I form the habit of disciplining my mind, if I form the habit of thinking what I want, thinking of the best version of myself, thinking of my goal, I can write my own ticket. I can earn the kind of money that I want to earn. I can live in the physical body that I want to live in. I can have those prosperous relationships. He goes on to say, I determine my assumptions in this way. Form a mental image, a picture of the state desired, so he's referring to the goal here, of the person I want to become. So this is self-image. Who do I need to become to achieve my goal? Concentrate my attention on the feeling that I am already that person. Now, you may be a little bit newer to personal development, and these concepts may be a little bit newer to you, but most likely, if you're watching this just based off the title of how to actually close the gap of our manifestations, you've been studying this material for quite some time. See, when we read the book, right, when we listen to the author, as what's happening is we're feeding our conscious mind, okay? And we can listen to the author, we can listen to this recording, and we can say to ourselves, yeah, I agree. I got it. He's 100% right. But here's the thing, and I always say this to my clients, this material is a blessing and it's a curse. This material is a blessing because it is so easy to understand. You can open that chapter up right now that I just read, and you can read it 2 or 3 times, and you can say to yourself, I get that. I know that. However, it's a curse for the exact same reason, because we can hear an idea and we can conceive the idea intellectually in the 2 to 4% part of our mind. However, it not reflect in our habitual thinking and our habitual behavior. And until we take the idea and we turn it over to our subconscious mind, until it becomes a part of our habitual thinking and our habitual behavior, it will never reflect through automaticity in our habitual thinking and our habitual results. And that's what most people who are studying personal development do. That's what I was doing when I was a carpenter. I was working 65 to 70 hours a week. I always tell people I was run down, I was stressed, I was fed up and just about ready to give up. I was a walking, talking encyclopedia of this knowledge. You know, I would listen to recordings of Bob Proctor and Tony Robbins and the likes, and I would literally be able to talk along with them. I knew it like I knew it like I knew it. However, I only knew it intellectually. Here's how we implement the principles. There's 2 ways to shift a paradigm. The first way is through constant spaced repetition and elite level coaching, okay? So the first way to shift a paradigm is through constant spaced repetition. We want to read the same thing, we want to write the same thing, we want to get emotionally involved with the same thing. Then implementation. We have to act on the ideas. There's no amount of reading and memorizing that will help you create a quantum leap. It's the understanding and applying. And most people who study personal development, and I was doing this all the way back in 2012, I was waiting to be ready. I convinced myself that if I sung positive affirmations in the mirror, if I told myself I was great, if I attended enough events and I heard the material enough times, that things would just click for me. The person who is waiting for that to happen will always be waiting. We've got to work the ideas. We've got to go and implement. We've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. We've got to be willing to make mistakes, and we've got to be willing to fail our way forward. The person who is waiting to be ready will always be waiting. And then finally, elite level coaching. You know, the one common denominator between anyone who's created any real success in their life, any significant success, it could be an actor, it could be an athlete, it could be an entrepreneur, a CEO, or an Olympian. They all have a mentor. They all have someone to actually take them by the hand and show them step by step on what to do and how to do it. See, that's what helped me close the gap between reading and memorizing and understanding and applying. Actually being taken by the hand and shown step by step on what to do and how to do it. And the second way is, excuse my talking and writing here, is an emotional impact. But an emotional impact is something that's almost always negative. So for example, it might be the loss of a job, death in the family, or a loss of a relationship. It's that one thing that is a massive jolt to your system that completely shifts your habitual thinking and your habitual behavior. Let's do a little review. The first thing that we want to understand is that we have 2 parts to our mind. We have our conscious mind and we have our subconscious mind. My conscious mind controls 2 to 4% of my results, perceptions, and behaviors, and my subconscious mind controls 96 to 98%. Now, in my subconscious mind lays my paradigm. A paradigm is a multitude of habits stored in a section of my subconscious mind that has almost exclusive control over my habitual behavior, and almost all of my behavior is habitual. In fact, unless I form the habit, going off what Neville said, of taking conscious control of my mind, 96 to 98% of my day is automatized. And there's 2 ways to shift the paradigm. The first way is through constant spaced repetition, implementation, and elite level coaching. Read the same thing, write the same thing, get emotionally involved with the same thing while going and implementing and getting uncomfortable and being taken by the hand and shown step by step on what to do and how to do it by someone who has actually walked the path. And the second way is an emotional impact. But an emotional impact is something that's almost always negative. We want to remember, as long as the idea is in our conscious mind, it will never habitually reflect itself in our habitual thinking and our habitual behavior. We must begin to form the habit of turning the idea over to our subconscious mind.